Once again, a very warm welcome and a good evening to all our esteemed attendees here. Now, this is where we diverge into two parallel tracks, whereby you are in the parallel track of EdTech, the future of learning is today, and the other one is a marketing masterclass by Professor Komaraju. Now, here, what I want to say is that learning happens inside a classroom, but the best kind of learning happens outside it. Perhaps at places and conferences like these, where great minds come together to exchange ideas. And if you combine a classroom with technology, you get the best of all worlds. The conventional classroom and the ideas of visionaries, along with real world knowledge, all at the click of your fingertips. That is how revolutionary EdTech is. And indeed, we have a revolutionary panel on the dais today. Now, I thought accomplished will be an understatement and also too mainstream a word, hence the word revolutionary. So, first up, we have with us the founder and CEO of Top Careers in Youth, Mr. Kamal Vatera. And he is also someone who ventured into EdTech almost 20 years back when it was unheard of. And we have with us Ms. Vidhu Goyal, who's the founder and CEO of Wonk. But let me give you a more interesting fact about her. She has been regarded by most as the face of Facebook India to promote women entrepreneurship in the nation. And our third panelist is Mr. Dipanshu Goyal. He happens to be a little more favorite because he vouched for the Tycon quality himself in the past years, and he himself said that he loves coming here. But for the introduction, as per the protocol, he's the co-founder and CEO of PrepLadder, and PrepLadder was recently acquired by Unacademy in a period of just 4 years. And moderating this wonderful revolutionary panel is also the revolutionary Dr. DNV Kumaraguru, who's the Director of External Affairs at ISB. Now, this is where I must take your leave and I must hand it over to Dr. DNV Kumaraguru to take the panel forward. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Niharika. I think along with the revolutionary tag, which has put a lot of pressure on my panelists, not so much on me, I think you've also bestowed honorary doctorate upon me. I am not a doctor, so I just wanted to clarify that. It's easier to be not one. But the only doctor in our group is Dipanshu, who incidentally is probably not many people know that he is a doctor in that sense. But on that note, thank you very much for that lovely introduction to Kamal, Dipanshu, and Vidhu. I was planning to take it a little easy, but then now since you've been branded as the revolutionary experts on this panel, the pressure is on you. But I think Dipanshu, it's a little easier for you because you've just you are playing cricket with Sachin Tendulkar these days. I hear with all an academy and everything else. Okay. So on that sort of lighter note, I want to welcome, good evening everyone at TyCon 2021. It's a great pleasure to be here moderating this very, very interesting and an important panel on EdTech. Right? The panel is titled The Future of Education Today. And I think it couldn't have been sort of summarized better than this, right? You've all heard the very brief introductions of my fellow panelists, but I'm just going to take a minute or two to introduce them because it does certainly help set the context. And also, I will share the structure of the panel and then sort of, take it forward from there. We have with us Dipanshu Goyal, who's the co-founder and CEO of PrepLadder, a doctor by qualification and an entrepreneur by profession and passion. His transition into this journey came in when he was stuck in his career, with trying to figure out what path should he take. And I think a lot of us go through that journey, but, oftentimes sort of give up and, just go with the pack. But I think Dipanshu is one of those who decided to carve out a path for himself, and we have PrepLadder as a result. He's a hands-on leader obsessed over creating quality and impact. And his mantra for his team is create value for the student, don't worry about the valuation. Clearly, this mantra has served well for himself and his company. As we all know, in July 2020, it was acquired by Unacademy, and we know the story. And I'm going to request Dipanshu to talk about it a little later. But thank you, Dipanshu, for joining us this evening, and we look forward to your thoughts and insights. Vidhu Goyal, our next panelist, is the co-founder of Wonk, India's largest certified tutor booking app for one-on-one real-time online and offline expert coaching classes for K-12 students. As someone who's been an immigrant in different cities in this country, I cannot tell you how important something like this is, especially as parents who are looking to try and give the best education. And in this case, the model that you are creating is to supplement the full-time education that one gets in a traditional school. How do you get access to the best tutor out there? What sort of quality ratings do you have? Because we do have this thing that there are some professions we never question about their ability, but sort of blindly accept. But there is a need for us to evaluate, and I think this is a wonderful platform. So we do is you just heard from Niharika about her accolades from Facebook and some of her other recognitions. But I think the one point that I wanted to sort of highlight here is that of the 100,000 plus 1 lakh plus tutors onboarded by their platform, a good majority of them are women. And I think my sense is the pandemic has only increased the number of tutors on your platform. But I don't want to be speaking more about your this thing, but we do welcome to the panel and look forward to your sort of insights later as well. Uh, we have Kamal from Ludhiana joining us. Kamal Vadera is known as a maverick in bootstrapping, someone who thought of these things, again, as Niharika said, several years ago before the word online became fashionable, thanks to the pandemic. He nurtured tcyonline.com as a multi-site platform, bringing together content providers and learners, even for long tail categories that were ill served by the conventional exam prep sector. And Kamal, I've had the opportunity of meeting him once earlier and very impressed with his vision and his approach to managing things. And rightly, he's given his sort of ability to at managing very good in a very high quality manner. He's also been the past president of Ludhiana Management Association, charter member of TIE Delhi, and an MBA from University of Indore. Kamal, welcome to you to this session, and look forward to your sort of insights as well. So we are talking about EdTech, right? I mean, this is it's one of those terms that was around for a while, but thanks to the pandemic, everybody's talking about it, right? I think the year 2020, and I think, I don't know the number of books and documentaries and Netflix things that will come out about 2020, if not already out there, about how it has disrupted our lives. A lot of things are obviously negative, but there are also some positives to what has happened. I mean, and when I say positive, I'm not for a moment, ignoring the fact that it has put, a lot of humanity into misery. But when we look at the context in which we are talking about startups and entrepreneurship, it has given rise to, or rather accelerated the digital adoption and sort of, uptake for some of the sectors that were trying very hard to convince people of the efficacy of their models, right? EdTech is one of those things. I think you saw a phenomenal growth in the EdTech sector. You saw people, and as someone who's at a business school here at the Indian School of Business, people talk of online delivery and online learning in the education space amongst more traditional people as something that cannot replace classroom education. Perhaps true in its totality. I don't think it is ever going to be that. But is it something that needs a higher share of our mind space than what we have been used to? I think the answer is absolutely yes, and the last 11, 12 months has actually demonstrated that, right? You've seen the change in mindset amongst people, that online actually works. This was no longer a question of choice. This was actually what you had to do. This was the default option. Every kid from grade 1 to undergraduate final year or masters were sitting in front of a device and sort of learning. And at the end of a year now, I think people have have been promoted from their current class to the next class. People have written exams, people have acquired knowledge. I'm not saying just exams in terms of some certification, but they've actually acquired knowledge. And this is not just about students, mind you. This is also about learner, about people who are teaching as well. Because a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, who told me the difference for him as a faculty is that when you're in a classroom, it's like a theater actor. You're seeing your audience in front of you, and you're talking to them, and you're seeing their emotions, you're seeing their expressions, and that motivates you. But when you're teaching online, you're like a Shah Rukh Khan. You're looking into a camera lens and imagining millions of audience on the other side. But it's important for faculty members as well to make that shift. And I think there are many platforms, some of which who are here with us this evening, sort of helping people make the transition at both the supply side and the demand side. This year saw EdTech firms raise funding. I think, depending on which report you're referring to, it the number is anywhere from 2.2 to 2.4 billion dollars. We have our own homegrown success here in Dipanshu's prep ladder as well. The valuation numbers apart, I think the fact is, and those are reports that are available, so I'm not going to get into it. But the fact remains that this has shown, like I said, digital fluency, and the importance of digital fluency is something that the pandemic has reinforced, right? So today, you are having, whether it is a Wonk, which is like an aggregator, or an Uber for tutors, for instance, or whether it is TCY Online or Prep Ladder, you have created and carved a space for yourself uh, on in the space. And for those of our audience who have tuned in from different parts, this is a fantastic opportunity to listen to success stories from three CEOs here, and of course ask questions. So the way I want to do this is, I'm going to invite all three of them to sort of share for a few minutes about their journey, the priority areas, their growth areas. Also, please do share challenges, because this is a community of startup enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, people who are interested in the space. So the more candid you can be, I think there is going to be a lot of learning. To the audience who have tuned in, my suggestions to you and request to you is to keep your questions ready, so that towards the end we'll actually come back to you and take those questions as well. So Dipanshu, can I request you to start and sort of tell us about Prep Ladder, and tell us about the journey post July 2020 as well. Thank you. Over to you, Dipanshu.
Right. Right. Thank you so much. So first of all, I would say that again. So I've been attending Taikon for the last 3 years. Uh, uh, I've gained a lot from Taikon. So this was actually the first time I, accepted a opportunity to speak somewhere. Uh, Very happy that this is at Taikon. One more thing I would want to add before I start off with, talking about my journey. So you just said that maybe we would never be able to replace the offline experience. I would want to prove you wrong there. Once we are done, online would offer much more, value to the student in terms of learning outcomes than offline ever could, right? And also, excuse me, my throat is paining a little. I hope it's not COVID. Uh, so yeah, so I would want to keep it short. So I'll just start off with my story. 2013, I completed my MBBS. Tried to get into PG for a couple of years, could not get in. I was not exactly the meritorious student in the college. Uh, uh, so couple of years, I joined a couple of jobs at hospitals as junior doctor. So after all that, I knew one thing, that I don't want to be a doctor, right? I did not know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I did not want to be a doctor. Uh, so to be honest, prep ladder was never on the cards. I never thought that I would ever become an entrepreneur. Uh, so so to speak, there was no purpose before I started prep ladder. The only purpose was that maybe I was getting a salary of 60,000 rupees. The only purpose was to beat that salary and make more money than I was making in my job as a junior doctor. Uh, so with that, me and my friend, we started Prep Ladder out of our basement, two people company, working on our laptops, nobody else. Uh, so I was the CEO, I was the janitor, I was the HR, I was the tele sales guy, I was everybody, right? I was the content writer. Uh, my partner, he was the CTO. Uh, Apparently, he was only the CTO. So he put together the platform, the website, and I got together questions from multiple different sources, and we put them together on one website, and we started selling a test series, and that was it. It was medical PG because obviously we only targeted medical PG because that was the audience I knew. Also a very niche segment, so bigger companies were not in that segment at that point of time. So this was 2016. We launched as a test series platform. Sorry, I'm in the office, so people might. Okay. So this was 2016, and we launched as a test series platform. Uh, the response was actually good. So 2016, 2017, we were a test series platform, right? Uh, and things were going well, as in maybe we were doing a revenue of 40, 50 lakh a month, and the team size was about 30, 40 people. We were spending about 15, 16 lakh a month, and I was on cloud nine. Like I was like undefeatable at that point of time. I was like that this is my retirement, right? I can now earn 10 lakh a month and I'm retired. Uh, but it was not that smooth. So 2007, mid of 2017, a lot of VC funded companies started coming in, right? And our revenue started nosediving like this, right? So by the end of 2017, situation got a little worse, right? Uh, and also, at the end of 2017, something happened. I found my purpose at the end of 2017. So what happened was we were conducting an all India exam, right? And we had centers booked across the country wherein students had to go to those centers and take that exam, right? So and we had hired some people who would take a video out of the exam center and send it back to us. So something that I saw that I did not expect would happen was students were frantically studying before entering the exam hall, like they would do for a real exam, right? And those visuals that hit me very hard, right? uh, I felt deep down because before that I had never seen students, right, that were communicating with the platform. I had never talked to the students. uh, so basically students for me were numbers on a computer screen, or it was a cohort. I did not see of students as individuals at that point of time. So uh, students, they were studying frantically before entering the exam hall, and it dawned on me that I am, if I'm not giving my 100% on this, uh, I am maybe uh, it's like I am fooling people, right? uh, so that is when my obsession with quality started. So 2018, uh, it was a very, very difficult year, right? So 2018 started, revenue started nosediving. End of the month, the bank account mostly showed zero. It was difficult to pay salaries. Uh, so what we started doing in 2018 was, so there are a total of 19 subjects in MBBS, right? And we wanted to create a team of 19 best educators for those 19 subjects within 2018. Um, and a lot of hyper funded companies also came in. Uh, so I started visiting these educators, right? All through 2018, I started visiting these educators, trying to convince them to come and work with us. Uh, and the other companies, they were offering them 2 CR per year to only work, say, 10 days in a year, and you get 2 CR per year and 10% year on year growth, something like that. We had no money to offer them, so we were offering them a royalty key. We would create content with you, we would launch that content. Once revenue starts coming in, you would get a royalty out of it. So obviously it was very difficult to convince someone to give up the 2 CR, right? uh, but I mean, when I was able to convince people, and we ended up creating a much better team than anybody else in the country. All through 2018, we created this team of 19 educators. We created content with them. 2019 January, May, we launched our content for 19 subjects and this package. Since then, we've had a major impact on the industry, right? Book sales in the industry has gone down by 60%, right? A lot of institutes had to either merge or shut down. Uh, a lot of areas, like there are special areas wherein institutes would be placed, uh, like there's Mukherjee Nagar for UPSC in Delhi. I don't know if you know about this or not. Just a quota for JEE and NEET, right? So it will be a entire area based, the economy of that area would be based around coaching institutes for one specific kind of coaching, right? There would be libraries there, mess, and hostels there, and coaching institutes, right? So a economy of that area went down in Delhi, right? So that's the kind of impact that we've had. And this was all pre-COVID. So 2019 May, we did about 100 cent revenue, right? And the kind of impact that we've had on the segment is that we've increased the cutoff of the exam, right? And if we are increasing the cutoff of the exam, for sure, um, I mean, we are offering more value than the offline players, right? Uh, right now, we have about 60% market share in the category that we operate in. Uh, okay, so 2019, we did very good. Uh, at the end of 2019, I wanted to, raise money because I believe that we've found a way to do test prep that, and create quality and create value in test prep. That is not happening in most other categories right now. So we wanted to raise money to enter into other categories. Uh, so also that is a funny story. So I was uh, chasing Matrix for a very long time, uh, and I was having like weekly updates with them, and it was not going anywhere for a couple of months. I was having these weekly updates with them. Uh, I also had a meeting planned with Sequa, which was not happening for a very long time. It kept getting cancelled and rescheduled. I was also in talks with SAF partners. Again, the meeting was not happening for a very long time. It kept getting cancelled and rescheduled. Uh, so, uh, but to Matrix, with Matrix, I was having frequent meetings, but then it was not going anywhere. So I had my first meeting in with Sequa in, I think, February. Yeah, February first week. I had my first meeting with Sequa. It was a Friday, right? And they asked me, "Are you talking to somebody else?" They were impressed with the presentation, and they asked me if you're talking to somebody else. I told them, "Yes, I'm talking to Matrix." Uh, so the Sequa guy, he came back to Chandigarh with me on the same day, right? He spent 2 days with us, did a lot of work, talked to the students, talked to the educators, talked to uh, the competitors and everybody. Uh, so Monday ko again, I had a meeting with Matrix and I told them, sorry, I don't think we'll be able to go ahead because Sequo has done a lot of work. And they're saying that they would, give us an answer within a week. So Matrix was like, Acha, they'll do it in a week. We can do it faster, right? Uh, so I had this meeting, I think on Monday. Wednesday ko I had a meeting with SAF, the first meeting. Uh, and in that first meeting, I said, sorry guys, I don't think we'll be able to do it because Matrix and Seco are much far ahead. And they were like, Acha, when do they want to complete the transaction? Not the transaction, the IC. I said maybe in a week. And they were like, we can do it faster. So in the same day, I had 3 or 4 meetings with SAF that day. And they also do something of a uh, competitor analysis, and they talk to your competitors also in your space. So we got an acquisition also offer, also 2 acquisition offers, honestly, from the whoever they talked to gave us an acquisition offer also, because I personally believe that good companies are bought, they're not sold. So I was traveling to Bangalore. Wednesday ko I had this meeting with Seth, and Thursday ko I was traveling to Bangalore. Uh, so everybody was like, I was traveling there to uh, my main agenda to travel there was to meet Sequa. So Matrix was like, Acha, you're meeting them on lunch. Next day, meet us on breakfast the same day. Then Saf was like, Acha, you're meeting them on breakfast. Meet us on dinner the previous day, right? And then Gaurav also texted, Gaurav from An Academy, he texted. So he was like, when are you coming to Bangalore? Can we meet tomorrow? I was like, I'm coming, but the entire schedule is packed. So he was like, change your flight. Let us meet before then. Right. So I had these 5 back-to-back meetings planned. And everybody, while I was traveling, everybody was like, कि कुछ sign मत करना किसी से भी before we have our meeting. So basically, 2-3 months of running after people, and then everybody wanted us because somebody else wanted us. So to be honest, we ended up going with an academy which was offering us the least valuation, right? Everybody else was offering us about 67-ish million in valuation. But because I believe our thoughts matched, right? Where we want to reach, the products that we want to build, it matched. And it's easier, when another founder has the same kind of vision with you, it's easier to gel along with them. So we did that deal. So now, so I would say the difference between an academy and PrepLadder is that, uh, an academy is in 40 different test prep categories. PrepLadder has only created one. We worked very, very hard on our content. So now I also have a role in an academy. I'm the VP of content here. So I'll be creating content for all of an academy categories. And I'm also the CEO of PrepLadder. And we would also start more categories under PrepLadder. So that is the plan now. Uh, so that's the journey. Uh, I would say that, things that have helped me reach here. Sorry, do I have more time or?
Another minute or so, and then I can come back on Q&A. Is that
Okay, okay. So I think I can conclude here. So maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back to you. I hold the thought on sort of learnings from your journey, because I do think that that's very important for
Sure,
our audience. Uh,
sure.
Thank you so much. I think you've been sort of, splendid in sharing this journey, and I sort of easily imagine this flight rescheduling and dinners and breakfast and this almost like wooing a prospect, you know, but it's fantastic. And thank you for being so candid about this. And so now Vidu, can I invite you to sort of talk about your journey with Wonk, and what's sort of tell us a little bit about the numbers and stuff like that as well.
I was happily in a corporate job, was close to completing a decade, and somehow I was finding, there is a slight, sentiment which told me that this was not my calling. At the same time, I already had my first daughter. She was 4 years old at that time, and I was feeling, I was searching for a tutor for her. So my starting Wonk was actually linked to a very, very personal reason where I was searching for a tutor for my daughter, an offline tutor. She was interested in some activities for which I wanted a tutor. But as I explored the market, as I went to my referrals, I realized that the market is there are a lot of tutors, but like you mentioned, Guru, I could not qualify the professional basis other parameters which I would, normally a doctor or a lawyer. I look at the qualification, I look at what other patients or their clients have to say, and pick up the right one for my child, especially keeping the safety concern in my mind. At such a young age, I did not want to expose her to technology also. I think a lot of K-12 parents would, want to limit the screen time or would want to limit the kind of content they have an access to, right? As a parent, this sentiment keeps coming back to us within my circle, with the Wonk parents we work with, right? So we always believe in a healthy mix of both online and offline. We have always worked on that, be it the content is online, our tutors deliver it offline, right? Both offline and online. Now, I was searching for a tutor and I couldn't find one to my satisfaction. And that is when it led to a research into different industry reports, wherein I saw there were different reports which suggested that the size of the private tutoring market, the offline market was huge. And there was no, I could pinpoint to a particular, there were, yes, institutes and smaller institute chains throughout the country, but I could not really find an EdTech company which was dealing with the problem. I was not able to read a tutor's review. I could deal with the company, yes. I could engage their tutors, yes, but I could not actually deal with a tutor profile. Let's say I want my child is in standard 10 and I want an IIT educated tutor because I foresee his concept will be very, very good. But I could not find a tutor be like that, wherein he'll be asking for, right? I don't need to create the product or the demand in the market. It should be something which which the parent looks for, is looking for, and I give it to him, right? So, but the biggest challenge was how unorganized the market was, how uninitiated this concept was, because we were the first ones to certify the tutor on the basis of their quality, on verifying the tutors. If a tutor is coming to my house, the parent needs a peace of mind that the tutor is verified by the company, it's certified by the company. So we had to get into that entire curriculum of, entire process of how to onboard the tutor, how to tell them what is the opportunity, the first in the market. Also have a team which will help the non-tech savvy tutors to get onto the platform, right? Because not all tutors who were teaching offline were very well versed with how to register themselves, how to complete their profiles, and to bring what we call the celebrity tutors, right? So to bring everyone on board and to provide a seamless opportunity to the parent wherein they were able to book a tutor, make the payment and book the tutor on the app in 3 easy, simple steps. Now, this meant that we started with Delhi NCR. This meant that we had to have a tutor in almost all the major localities, right? Because let's say a parent is looking for a standard 12 psychology tutor, and that too in Rohini sector 21. So I need to have a tutor who is willing to go to Rohini sector 21 to teach standard 12 psychology, right? So this required a huge supply line from our side, for which we started our efforts. Down the line, we entered into partnership with Unilever's Fair and Lovely Foundation, which which has a large base of women who are looking for opportunities. We tied up with Government of India's Common Services Center, who have 3 lakh district centers across the country. They got onboarded onto our platform. Thus today we have, as you mentioned, we have a tutor base of 100,000 tutors who actually, are in different parts of the country, right? We provide both offline and online. Pre-COVID, our ratio would say that, we were having 50-50, 50% offline, 50% online. During COVID times, of course, it moved 100% during lockdown. Now again, the demand has started coming for the offline tutors again, right? So continuously throughout our journey, we select onboard tutors. The tutors who are not onboarded, we verify them, train them, skill them, and onboard. And we are currently servicing, India. We are servicing through online model. We are servicing also some of the pockets of Dubai, Hong Kong, the UK, USA, Germany, Sweden. So this is how it has been placed. The major challenge which I see is that, what we talk about the next 500 million, right? We talk about them, the people who are in the, range of earning 5 to 25 lakhs a year. Now, when we talk about a lot of, wonderful EdTech solutions who have made EdTech the place it is, and, the kind of content which is available to students, even tier 2, tier 3, where the next 500 million resides, we see that, yes, they have an access to content, which they were never had an access to, and they are able to research. And what our internal research also suggests is that, the price points are such which sometimes do not, let them give a go ahead. Now, that is something which we are closely working on, that the price point should be such where they can enter, right? They have an access to quality education. That is the number one criteria which we look at. Right, because we at WONK, we personally believe in personalized learning, personalized one-on-one learning. And when you talk about one-on-one and finding the tutors who can deliver that, understand every child is different. Of course, one size doesn't fit all. They require focus on different areas. They learn at their own pace, right? They don't, there is a set curriculum. However, it really depends upon the child and the tutor how they are taking the learning progress forward, whether they want an hour a day, they want 2 hours a day, or they want weekend classes. That's completely up to the student and the tutor. It also helps the parent in having that peace of mind that my child is getting individual attention. Especially in K-12 segment, what we see that because of there are a number of reasons why kids these days are getting distracted easily. A, the kind of student teacher ratio we have in classes. B, the number of mediums to which they are exposed to. They are getting information from a lot of sources. Now, in that sense, when we talk about this age group, it is not always easy for them to understand what is the right information for them, how to solve the doubts when they are stuck, and not wait for it to be solved later, because these are inquisitive minds, right? And when I talk about even in K-12, we segment them as primary and senior grade children. When I talk about the primary kids, the main focus is cognitive development.
Yeah.
There, our main focus is not grade improvement, but it is cognitive development, right? We want them to, work on their thinking skills or problem-solving skills. Whereas when we talk about the senior grades, yes, it is academics, it is grade improvement, for which the tutors work along with the content which we develop for them. Right, so this is how we have been segmenting the market, moving along, and slowly moving to different markets also, and increasing the tutor base simultaneously.
Excellent. Great. Thanks a lot, Vidhu. I think you managed to give us a very good overview of the growth and also in some sense a peek into the future as it sort of unfolds. Uh, Kamal, over to you now. You, in some sense, I think in terms of vintage, you've sort of preceded both our co-panelists here in terms of when you started online, but also yours is, as I briefly mentioned in the introduction, a very unique thing of both online and in person. This thing, you also have your own centers and sort of other centers that you onboard and so on. So tell us more about PCY Online and what is future for you. And you're someone who's still in the bootstrap segment. Maybe there's someone knocking at your doors as well. So tell us about that as well.
Thanks, Guru, and wonderful stories by Vidhu and Dipanshu. So I'll try to contribute my bit also. Ours is an old company, so compared to what these two youngsters just mentioned. So 22 years now into the game. So my brother and I, we started this company. So first half of our journey was largely brick and mortar. Okay, so until the year 2009 or so. Okay, so although we were scaling, but not that fast. So we would open a few centers and then we would try COCO model, franchise model, a combination. And, as almost every model in franchising would have, so we also had our hits and misses, but still we reached a respectable stage. But the restlessness was always there in our core team, that is this the maximum impact we can create in terms of number of students primarily. So they were always restless. So we used to kind of brainstorm all the time. So then from 2009 onwards, so it took us, we tried B2C, B2B, B2C to begin with. So by the year then 2013, so we found our sweet spot. So what was working, what was scaling up really nicely. So in that year, I think 2013-14, so around 40 coaching centers approached us. So let's say 18 months or so a period. So they were onboarded across various categories. Okay, so that was the time we realized that this is the model, we should lay our focus on. So now fast forwarding. So as we talk, as I mentioned, so we have 1,250 centers domestically on our platform and around 65 from 15 other countries, so that run on our platform. So now to describe briefly what we do, how we do, why we do that. So what we do is, so we are running this platform with a view that every exam aspirant, I'm talking of competitive exams, every exam aspirant in the country should be part of our addressable audience. So this is the view we keep, okay, while building the company. So, and how we are doing that? So we are aggregating the existing coaching centers in the country, okay? So, and why would they come join the platform? So to our mind, every coaching centers has three pain points. One is academics, operations, and business. Okay, so when it comes to academics, uh, very few coaching centers, so if you leave the first 10%, 15%, they would have proper structured content, either offline and online content. So the value prop that we offer to them is uh, everything in academic resources, right from the classroom tutorials, okay, the slides, the slideshows, to the books. Books are QR code enabled books, and both these things are linked to our app. So the remedial testing, which could be either on the app or on the desktop. And the beauty is all these three resources are on the common tagging tree. That has taken us a very, very long period to do that internally. So that is some kind of moat which we think we have developed in the sector. So this was academics. And when it comes to operations, so running coaching centers on day-to-day basis is a tedious task. So there are so many variables that the center owners have to take care of. So we have our proprietary ERP also and CRM also, which is very, very specific to this sector. So it's not a generic off-the-shelf ERP. And third is, which seemingly for them is the biggest pain point, as they say, which is giving them enrolled students. Okay, so this is what this was the last piece in the jigsaw that we solved. That was the last to be solved. So now we give them all the three things. Okay, so it becomes a plug and play solution for them. So when they're onboarded, so we give them academic solution, so operations and business. So these are the three things that we bring to the table. This so and why we do this, why this model. So look, if you see on an average in the last 5-6 years, every year around 4 CR, 3.5 to 4 CR exam aspirants are there in the nation. Unique aspirants are there in the country every year, and around 250,000 commenters would make the most sense for us, and that it really did. Okay, so and last year we had a little over 1 lakh paying students. Before that we had around 70,000. Before that we had 40,000 paying students. So this is almost 1/5 of the total free registrations that we get on the platform without spending even a single rupee on marketing. That's very, very important to mention here. So otherwise we won't be able to bootstrap this far. So we do have 2 small-time angel investors, but largely it's a bootstrapped company. Now, the more interesting thing than the story is some tenets that we firmly believed in and we held on to them, which was sort of against the grain, both intuitively also and within the team also, because sometimes the hardest battles are in the organization, because your own colleagues will be nahi karna, ye kaise ho jayega, how could you do that, sara gadbad ho jayega. And then, so we've been through all that. So those were the hardest battles we had to overcome. So some of the tenets were, which we firmly believed in, that if you really want to achieve scale in this sector, then we have to come up with an and product, not an or product. Which means let's not think of replacing the teacher, let's think of empowering the teacher, which we learned very late. Okay, I also used to speak like Dipanshu until a few years back, कि जो मर्जी हो जाए आप इनको उड़ा देना है, आप ये करना वो कर देना. So but yes, I appreciate Dipanshu, so look forward to meeting you also soon. So I was enjoying when you were talking. So so this is what we thought, that it will be difficult for us to open our own hospitals. So let us try to be a lal path to this sector. So where we give sophisticated testing labs to all these clinics slash hospitals, so that we become specialists in assessments only, testing in our parlance. Okay. And second, which we firmly believed, was that scale should be touchless. Okay. So if it has to be through feet on street all the time, so then it's going to be tough. Okay, so although we have this number of centers, 1250 plus 65, but you'll be happy to learn that we don't have even a single man, single person in the field. Okay, so we did with a team of just 4 people until last year, and now we have 7 people. So 5 are onto this, 5 are facing the coaching centers. sitting here in Ludhiana and 2 just supporting them. So this is a 7-people team that is supporting these around 1,300 coaching centers. Okay, and third tenet, which we believed was we have to be very, very asset light. So that is the very, I would say, property of any platform model. So you have to be asset light. For example, if on our platform, through all these coaching centers, we have 3,000 classrooms, okay, physical classrooms. So we own just 21 classrooms out of those 3,000. And if there are 2,700 teachers through this platform, on our roles, we have just 20 teachers. And if we see admin like center managers slash counselors, etc., so a little over 2,000 of them are there, and on our roles we have 14. Okay, but the beauty is we always believed in the back end. So we always used to bear the cost of a heavy R&D center. So 100 plus is is the team. So largely this number has been there for so many years, which actually helped us build this model so that we have fewer feet on street, we have fewer people on our roles. It was just because of this backend team that we were able to achieve that. So put together, so it was 3 things that we believed in. So in our sector, test prep would be adaptive, and it would be like anytime learning, and it would be on the go, which is mobile. So these are 3 things we always followed for so many years, and we stuck to these tenets. And thankfully, we have been running this company profitably. So we might have bled twice in the entire history. So largely, we have been able to stay the company cash positive. So that's the journey. That's the simple journey. So hopefully things will be better now, because as you may think that during the COVID days, we saw a steep acceleration, but that was not the case. In fact, we saw a dip for many months because we were selling to coaching centers and coaching centers were shut. Okay, it is only that after they started opening, so now we have a great influx because now everybody wants to be tech enabled. They know now anytime. So what exigencies they may have to face in future. So now everybody is, all those leads that were stuck also over the years. Yeah. So without much effort on marketing and sales, again, as we don't spend much, so run rate is almost double compared to last year. So far so good.
Excellent.
So far so good. Yeah.
Kamal, thank you so much. I think you said this is our, simple story, but I think it's the way you articulated it that made it sound simple. But I'm sure the effort and the pain has not been simple in any sense. The end result appears to be simple, but thank you so much again for such a wonderful storytelling. I don't know, Dipanshu, if the cough is transmitting from Panchkula to Mohali, but I'm also coughing right now. So, Dipanshu, I want to get back to you. There's one particular thing that you said, and I want to sort of go with pick one sort of question to each one of you. You said you always like it when a company is bought and not sold. I like that philosophy of yours. But also, I was looking at your website. And you have your vision statement which says that you want to create a world where no doctor regrets their decision to choose medicine as a profession. Right. I mean, one is in terms of you are trying to help them get into the, sort of helping them prep for the masters, and which is essential in your profession. But do you see yourself playing a larger role in this ecosystem thing? Because in some sense, your growth is constrained in some sense by the capacity that is out there, right? In terms of number of seats, number of colleges. So it's a two-pronged question, but would appreciate a response from you.
Right. So basically, now when I see PrepLadder, we are creating two kinds of companies. One is a medical education company, and one is a test prep company, right? So in terms of test prep company, we've launched another product called One Prep, which would replicate PrepLadder's model, but in multiple different categories. For medical education, we are doing a lot of other cool things, right? So we launched something called Prep Clinic, wherein we would teach clinical courses, short clinical courses to graduate doctors, right? So if I'm a doctor, but we've gotten some great names to associate with us in Prep Clinic. So, for example, there's a doctor from Hyderabad. He only does base of skull fracture surgery in a trauma case, right? So uh, 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 very niche surgeries and very niche audiences, but we are catering to everybody from, a simple ECG course or a ventilator machine settings course, to, something like hip replacement or spinal cord surgery or something like that. Uh, so we'll keep doing more things for the medical education part of it also, and we'll keep doing more things for the test prep business also.
Great. I have a question that's coming from one of the, one person in the audience, and I'll ask you and then sort of request Vidhu and Kamal as well. This is someone, Tushar, he says he's also an EdTech company founder. What growth strategies do you recommend to fellow startups in the EdTech space? I'm going to sort of ask this of you and Vidhu, and I think in some sense Kamal has given those 3 tenets and sort of, as well. But if it, Dipanshu, to you, and then Vidhu, over to you after that.
So, see, I would say learn about your audience, learn about your industry, create products, learn about their pain points, and then build on that. See, a lot of times students would not know what they want, right? They would know कि मुझे ये चाहिए. I need a question bank, I need test series, I need notes, I need video lectures. So this would create, complete the product for a test prep. Tushar might be in Tushar might be in some other category of education, but the basics everybody knows, and the students also know कि मुझे ये चाहिए. Then you have to keep surprising the students with innovations in content, right? And I would just say learn about your industry, keep getting better, learn about your students, and create very good products for them.
Thank you. Thanks, Dipanshu. Vidhu, what would your advice be to Tushar and people like him, for instance?
What I believe in and what we also have done at Wonk is that don't open yourself in all the markets in the first go. You start with your home ground, you capture a sizable share there, learn, because once you expand to number of geographies and territories, you spend that much on entering a market, on marketing, advertising, everything. So when you're starting out, try to focus on a smaller geography, because then you learn and you are able to capture a market share and slowly move out to the other geographies. And even if you want to partner with your rivals, I mean, it is always a good idea to partner with the rivals also, where they have a stronger advantage because of the location. Ultimately the idea is to reach the maximum audience in the lesser time, right? So even if you have to partnerships play a major role, whether it's content, whether it's supplier, never ending supply, whether it's in all other aspects. And the second big thing which has worked for us is keeping an ear on the ground. You don't push the product onto the parent or the child. Rather, you listen to what they want, and whenever needed, tweak your product, right? Tweak it, be open to, detach yourselves to say that, this is my product and this is the right thing, rather saying that, this is what the customer actually needs. Back it up with, as Kamal said, with strong research and R&D team to say that, to see what is actually needed, right? And work accordingly. Because once you listen, you will see that, your customer segmentation works and the behavior works, once you understand your market. So these are the two basic things which I would like to tell.
I have another question that's come in for you, Vidhu, is in terms of, there are tutors on your platform over whom you don't have 100% control. But what if there's an unhappiness on the part of the parent or the student? And, what are some of the ways in which you're addressing the sort of customer satisfaction, so to speak?
So after every class on our application, the parent can give a feedback on a regular basis. He can choose after every class. He can choose whether he wants a weekly, quarterly, however he wants to give the feedback. The feedback is taken up very seriously by the team. Our tutors are trained in the aspects of, how to be good listeners when it is up to, see, I'll tell you another aspect. We also, because these are one-on-one tutors, they have good, camaraderie with the students. So now what happens if in case a parent is unhappy, the relationship between parent and Wonk is always kept on a on a different level which is not visible to the teacher. So an honest feedback is provided by the parent whenever if they are unhappy, and necessary steps are taken. So the feedback
You
mechanism
are
really works for us.
so you are sort of having a very robust sort of mechanism to
We
address
don't,
grievances.
yeah, we don't leave the student and the parent once we get the booking. We are with them throughout their journey.
Great. Kamal, when I mentioned about Dipanshu's philosophy about a company as a promoter, you prefer a company to be bought, not sold. I did notice a bit of a smile on your face. Who's approaching you and what
No, no,
sort
no.
of conversations are happening at this point of time?
No, not as fortunate as Dipanshu has been, so I must admit. So it's not that too many proposals we have seen, but yes, a couple of times there have been, but somehow because of either on valuation issue, okay, there has been one or two cases, there have been one or two cases, and one on, so what to bet on in future. So those philosophies did not match. So that marriage never happened. So, but not as I would say frequently or that sought after we have been as Dipanshu has been.
Great.
Okay, that people have not been falling on one another to approach us
Well,
to.
I hope and wish they do, and you can come back and share the success story at the next icon, and hopefully in person at our campus as well. But
Yeah.
I'm going to have a question for all three of you. One is, what do you think are the driving factors that lead to greater adoption of online learning in India? So we'll start with you, Kamal. We have
So
another 3 minutes to wrap up this session.
so the drivers that would enhance the adoption in technology. Okay.
Online learning technology. Yeah.
Okay. Good question. I think first of all, this period itself has given momentum. Okay, so from the consumer side, I would say the inevitability that has come. So that has really enhanced this thing. Second thing is, if somehow we can create the student and teacher engagement, okay, if we can enhance that experience, I think that's going to be a killer thing. Third is, if the outcome, if there is a scientific way to put in front of the parents, so far it is not, let me tell you, and to schools also, it's a very, very tough uphill task. The outcomes of online learning versus the outcome, of course, offline is also very, very unscientific. But somehow, since we have seen the interest of the student just drops, the learner drops after a few weeks. So these are 2-3 things that if are taken care of, that should significantly enhance the adoption of online learning.
Vidhu, what do you think are the drivers?
I feel there are 2 or 3 major themes which come to my mind which can drive. A is, as I already mentioned, personalization. Right now the kind of solutions which are there in the market, there is a level of personalization, but as we foresee, the student needs just now just enough, and a bite-sized approach to whatever they require, with the reducing time span, attention span of the student. We need to give them what is just right for that particular student, right? So personalization in my mind is one big theme which I see can help in adopting. Second would be immersive learning, right? So yes, there are AR VR products available in the market. There is a lot of innovation being done in that field, but till the time the student can actually live it and not just learn from it, is something which really will turn the tables and can help him be in the situation and see what it actually means. What can online learning actually do? Right now they have only seen the tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot to be explored which can be done. Thirdly, what I really feel is that if we can draw insights to an extent that there is an kind of an eye teacher concept which works with the student 24/7 and says, to a student gets up in the middle of the night, says there are certain questions about a certain topic and he wants an answer right now, and there should be an eye teacher who can give them those answers. and he does not have to wait for the answer. Right? Once you start seeing these kind of solutions to the kind of learning needs which the students have, they can really see the potential of online learning which is there, and it makes them very easy to adopt to.
Great. As a parent, though, I had this image in my mind that my daughter would wake up at 12:30 in the night and ask me to switch on the computer because she needs an answer. But I'm hoping
My
that won't be.
daughters do so. They do.
But for a moment, that was the image in my mind. But thank you, Vidhu. Dipanshu, over to you for the last set of comments.
Yeah. So see, I honestly believe when we talk about education, we are not talking about a particular set of industry. I mean, education is it could be anything. It could be K-12 education, it could be test prep, it could be vocational education, it could be, it could be anything, right? So, and honestly, the students don't care about you. The students don't care about your company, right? The students have a goal in mind, and you have to fulfill that goal, right? So the only thing that the students don't care about offline institutes or online institutes. So when we talk about edtech, uh, I believe you're not just competing with offline institutes, you just have to create value, right? If you create enough value that it can replace an offline institute. Yes, COVID accelerated it, but after, if you've not created enough value after COVID dies, students would go back to offline institutes, right? It's just plain and simple, right? Uh, the only thing that you can do to get ahead and to stay ahead and to have a long-term moat is to just create the best value, right? Align yourself with your learners or your students' goal. Make that your life goal and your company's goal, and then think of, I would say, think of students as one individual, right? One individual that you're serving, right? And then take your decisions, create value for that one individual. And that would, I believe, do it for you.
Excellent. So, I mean, I think it's been fantastic learning personally for me, and I'm sure our audience will agree in terms of the phenomenal journey that the three of you have had over the last several years combined. When all three of your companies' journeys put together, the fortunate part of events like this is that we don't have to go through the pain that you all have had to go through, right? I mean, sitting here in 1 hour, we are able to get so much of insights, and it's up to us to sort of depending on who we are and what we plan to do or what we are already doing, to sort of put some of those things into practice in our own lives. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you plan to be one, you want to start up, or you could just be someone who's working somewhere, but in some sense that an entrepreneur in your organization. But the lessons are very invaluable. So thank you very much. I do think that as a closing note, I just want to add a couple of points. One is edtech is, we're talking about students, we're talking about faculty, but we should be very cognizant of the third leg of that stool, which is the parents, especially in India. And and it's not just for K-12 segment. Even in India, parents think forever that they have a right over their children, no matter what. And so therefore, in a market like India, and perhaps elsewhere too, so it's important for us to also target that. And I think that the sort of culmination of, or the convergence of these three stakeholders is important as we sort of look at the future growth of edtech. I like what I heard from Dipanshu just now, is that let's focus on values and not so much on valuation. That's why I didn't sort of steer this conversation towards numbers and valuation and so on. But I think if you are valuable, everything else will follow, right? And I think that's true not just for edtech, that's true for everything else that we do in life, in our own personal journeys. I think if you are able to add value, and if you're able to allow people to benefit from us, then I think people will start liking us more. And that's part of our journey, whether it's personal or professional. So I like that part. I also want to just leave one last thought, which is the national education policy that was sort of brought in last year, is in some sense one of those policies where everybody has actually been very positive about it, right? And I think that is creating, or will create, once its guidelines come in terms of implementation and some of the structural changes of regulatory bodies come in, will create a lot more disruption in the online space. A simple data point is UGC has now said over the next 5 years, all higher education institutions should focus on 25% of content to be online. I mean, just think of the massive amount of change that it will create in terms of the need to create content, the need to create quality content, and the need for, platforms like, the ones that you guys are running, but also many of the platforms that are out there. Right. I like, Kamal, your sort of, tenets of, so many things that you sort of very in a capsule format that you shared. I think the couple of things that I learned from all three of you is, one is, let's be lean, let's learn a lot, but it's also let's leverage technology, to the best that we can, within the overall things. The debate is still out though, whether, online will completely replace offline or in person. Dipanshu versus Kamal, I'm not competing here, but it's good to have two people in this space sort of having differing opinions. On that note, I want to thank the organizers for inviting all three of you and for giving me this opportunity to moderate this brilliant panel. Like I said, there's many takeaways, and I hope all of us, at least have one that we can take back and sort of mull over. So Kamal, thank you very much. Dipanshu, thank you very much. Vidhu, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your insights this evening. To
Thank
the
you.
organizers, over to you. Thank you very much. To the audience, thank you very much for your